Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in Galilee on the 18th of April. It's 9:24 in the morning. I have to use the alternative internet in the house for the guest house because the guy came and fixed our internet yesterday and it worked for about a half hour and then it broke again. So I don't know what's up. So I called them back again and they're coming today to fix it again. I don't know if it's where it's coming from. I really don't. I have suspicions, but I'm not sure. But we're going to be very insistent that it works today. Okay, let me go check the live stream and do a couple of quick things in there, and we'll be waiting for people to come in. I gotta make sure we got sound and picture and things like that. All right, we got sound and picture, and let me get going. If you can wait a minute or two till I get my posts up in the chat, it would be good. Almost done, guys. I'll be right with you. Another second or two, real quick. And good, we're done. Okay, people are coming in. You'll see me wave my hand periodically, and that's to make sure we're on the air and the screen didn't freeze. This internet seems to be pretty good. Bible believing site we are, so I will do some praise. If you're a true believer in Yeshua HaMashiach, you can join in. There's going to be more noise here than normal because I'm not in my office because this internet won't reach my office. I could do the live stream outside, but my iPad that I used to do the Bible work, the one I hold, didn't have much charge, so I figured better do it inside. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so first thing I want to start off about is daughter of Babylon. But, Yeshua told us to watch, okay? So watching in my idea doesn't mean read the prophecy scriptures only, okay? I'm going to shut the door. I think I can quiet things down here. Hold on. It'll be somewhat more quiet now. I can't shut the house down. So, you need to look and pay attention to the current events and then tie them to Bible prophecy as best you can. And that's what you got me for. And then you can understand where you're at prophetically. Otherwise, you don't. You just wander around. The churchianity sites, and that includes the people that are not churches but preach in the churches, sell conference tickets, sell books, sell DVDs, making merchandise out of God's people. Freely you have received, freely you shall give, you know. That is not the way God works. God works on free will offerings. They don't do that because they don't get enough money. I find that perhaps 1% of the subscribers actually give anything at all. And it would be the same with them. So what they do instead is they tell you they got these great revelations about all these prophecies and what's going to happen and stuff like that. And they'll share them with you. All you got to do is go buy their book for $29.95 plus shipping and handling, or pay money to go to a prophecy conference someplace where they take offerings and they sell tickets. Now, what they normally do is reduce the price of the tickets enough to cover the cost of their conference. That's because they know the people may not give offerings and they're scared. And money is their God, okay? Because they get a lot of money, they think that their God, Satan, reigns. And that's, of course, not true, but they believe that. That's the deception they're under. Now, as we should know, the money of the world, the paper money, and the virtual currency, and the stocks and the bonds is all going to be worthless in a few more weeks, or I would say between now and the end of July. It's going to be worthless. So they're building a house on sand. Now, so they don't know the truth, most likely, let alone are they going to tell you the truth. What they do is they go to the seminaries and they all preach the same garbage doctrines, so it makes it look more real. You've got thousands of these people preaching one of 3 or 4 doctrines: pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib. They're almost all telling you that Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38-39, is the next war. And it's not. But they keep telling you that, and I'll cover that briefly today. And do any of them preach Jeremiah 50:51 and Isaiah 47 is the destruction of America, the daughter of Babylon? No, because they love the daughter of Babylon. They love it. Are they pro-Israel and pro-Netanyahu? You bet. Why? Because Israel's always been run by Satan bots since 1948, and they want to keep it that way. Okay? Do they ever accurately describe the 2 witnesses and when their ministry starts? Do they ever cover it in Malachi 3? Do they ever cover the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man, combining it with John 6:40 with eternal life, which is found in Zechariah 12, the next war, so to speak, on Israel? No. They don't tie anything together with you. Do they really know it? No. Do they think they know what's going to happen? Not really. They just get it from Satan and the unclean spirits. They go to seminaries. And in the seminaries, they're taught the same 3 or 4 doctrines, which are pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, and amillennial. Okay? All wrong. And they put themselves in one frame, one thought or the other. They pick one or the other, and that's what they go with. And it all involves out of Bible timing raptures. And then they believe in divisions, which is in a denomination. It's called seditions in the King James. In Galatians 5:19-21, it says those that do variance And seditions, variance is having different doctrines. Like what? Pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, pray in tongues, don't pray in tongues, baptize in the Holy Spirit, don't baptize in the Holy Spirit, house church, big stupid building church, et cetera, ad nauseum. Okay? And it says you will not enter the kingdom of God. Why? Because a house divided unto itself shall not stand, and that's what denominations are there for. And they're fine with denominations. They're fine with different doctrinal statements, which is variance. And then they teach the people, well, we got to be respectful of their positions because we don't know any better. When you read Acts 2, the early church, which were the Jews in Israel, they were all united in the apostles' doctrine. They had one doctrine. And that house wasn't destroyed. But, you know, so it's absurd, but so many go to the churches. Broad and wide is the road to destruction, and many find it. Straight and narrow is the correct path, and few find it. Okay? So their doctrines are so ridiculous, they're foreign from the Bible. Remember, the Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Christian Scientists, and others, the Black Hebrews, they all use the Bible. They use the prophecies. That doesn't mean that they're correct. Okay? So I'm going to start. The United States takes in, I put all this up on my Telegram with pictures of what I'm going to talk about and newspaper articles so you can see the documentation on my Telegram. Put it up this morning. The United States has sold several ports where shipping containers come in to the UAE. One's in Delaware, I forget where the other one is. I think it's East Coast also. The UAE is friendly with Russia. Okay? The UAE is not a friend of Israel. Are you serious? They did an Abrahamic Accord, whoopee-doo, you know. They just stab us in the back when the time comes. They're not a friend of Israel. Don't be stupid. They own 2 of these ports. Other countries have bought these ports. What Hillary Clinton was doing was going to foreign countries and saying, with Obama, this was with Obama, not the Bill Clinton, she was saying, we'll give you a 35-year contract on the port for so much money, okay? And then you contribute, 30, 40, $50 million to our campaign fund, which if they don't use, they can keep by law, okay? And they were doing that, and they sold these ports to foreigners. Now, 11 million containers come into the country a year in America. The customs people scan, search, inspect, take your pick of terms, 3.7%, which is 407,000, roughly 400,000 containers a year get some type of inspection out of 11 million. That leaves like what? 10.5 million containers uninspected. Now, Iran has ships where they have a container on the ship. They've modified container ships. A 40-foot shipping container. It's 40 feet long, 8 feet wide, and 8 feet high. 40 feet deep, 8 by 8, right? That's your standard shipping container. And they put a launcher in there that's battery operated. They probably have a battery in there the size of a small refrigerator or the size of a full refrigerator or something like that. And it uses encrypted GPS, so it could be remote, it has the antenna and stuff, so it could be remotely operated. So it hibernates inside this container, and it could shoot 4 missiles. One container can fire 4 missiles. They can use cruise missiles and other type of missiles. Generally speaking, I don't really specifically know what kind of missiles they're going to use. I don't believe they're going to be able to use a real long-range heavy missile because it won't fit. And the launcher's too sophisticated, you know. I mean, it's not heavy enough, sophisticated enough. So the cruise missile can be launched off of airplanes. So that's probably what most of them are. Iran shot some of those at us, and they tend to go approximately 1,000 miles. And they're slow movers. They go at about 550 miles an hour. The American ones do. The other countries may not go that fast. And with the GPS, they could be accurate, somewhat. So have you heard about GPS blocking in many countries around the world where GPS stops working? I have. In Israel, we have it shut down. Now, Israel doesn't have a sloppy container inspection procedure, so Israel doesn't have this in their country, believe me, okay? Forget about that. Israel's a high security country. So's Iran. So's Russia. They don't let this stuff in, but America does. And with the GPS being turned off in America, I don't think these missiles would do much good. Okay, now could they use GPS that belongs to another country? Like China sent spy balloons over a certain country and they did their own GPS mapping, and they could launch their own GPS from spy balloons at a future date to guide missiles. This is possible. Not highly likely, but possible. Could Russia get close to America and use GPS on a ship? Remember, America keeps ships 25 miles away, so let's say they were 30 miles away. Would that work? Maybe. I don't know. It wouldn't work well. So these things may not be that effective if America shuts down the GPS, which means cell phone and computer locate doesn't work, getting the weather wouldn't work, navigation in your car wouldn't work, many things wouldn't work. The military of America probably has their own GPS that's reasonably well encrypted that they wouldn't have to shut down, that would probably not be penetrated by these people. They could always change the codes and things like that. The codes are probably, you know, the size of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, you know, probably, you know, 2,000 characters or something like that, you know. So, or more, I don't know, you know. It wouldn't be highly probable that they could break the codes, but America doesn't operate on a day-to-day basis without its GPS turned on. Now, Israel has the GPS off in a lot of Israel, and in Lebanon and in Syria, and of course Gaza, and I'm not sure about all the other countries. Maybe Iraq, they have it messed up. And Iran's been having trouble with their GPS. They've been turning it off too. They're afraid of things. So can a Russian missile in a container in Delaware, which is one of the UAE ports, get signals from Russia? This I don't believe. Okay, and that's just where they bring the containers in, and then the containers go on trucks, and they get transported around America. So how many such containers that are missile launches came in, we don't know. Could it be thousands? Easily. Okay? It could easily be in thousands. China has the same thing. Missile launchers in containers. The picture of the Chinese one is it's one more substantial missile, not four. But I imagine they could modify these things to suit one missile, two missiles, four missiles. You know, they could probably modify it. So it's battery operated. So you basically have a control, and the container opens up the roof, and the missile launcher pops up, and then all the electronics go to work, and you target it, and you launch. After they launch the missile or missiles out of the container, are they concerned about a strike from America against that container? Not really, because it's worthless again. They're not going to reload it. They don't have the missiles. So it's a throwaway. Containers usually cost, I don't know, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. They're not expensive items. Okay? The raw container, it's a throwaway. I mean, these things probably cost a good buck to make, but they don't care about salvaging them. They're not interested in reusing them. Iran has these. I have documentation of it. They have ships they modified with these containers with missiles in them. Container ships they modified, and they put a lot of these shipping containers there that contain missiles. So when they're at sea, they close the roof, and the container is probably relatively waterproof. And, that's how you do it. Iran's not sophisticated enough to construct, tubes inside the ship that launch the missiles like an American destroyer or missile cruiser would have. So they're much less advanced. But this is a poor man's toy or tool, and it's a dangerous one. Now, I told you before that with the sleeper agents, remember 70% of what they refer to as illegal aliens that come in, and many of them enter the country of America illegally, and then very rapidly, probably within 1 to 3 or 4 hours, report to immigration and file for amnesty status, and then they become legit until the court date, which is they're setting dates that are 6, 8, 9 years, whatever. 2032 has been the figure they bandy around. So they're legal until then. Okay. Now, they can buy weapons, is my understanding now, if they filed for amnesty. But, it's... The weapons they could buy are not really sufficient. And then, when they buy the weapons, there's going to be... ATF is going to collect the data on who's buying the weapons. So, yeah, they could go buy a good sniper rifle, for instance. The gun store may get very suspicious about that. They could buy a pistol, they could buy a shotgun, things like that. But they're not going to be able to buy a full auto AK-47, which is what they want, because that requires an extra special kind of permission with a tax stamp from ATF, a background investigation. And I would guess ATF would not give that to them because they couldn't run a background on them. But I'm not sure that Americans are dumb enough to let that happen too. But I seriously doubt it. I'd go 98% chance that's not happening. So they want weapons to do this. So what kind of weapons are they going to want? Well, they're going to want shoulder-fired missiles, anti-tank, and other. They're going to probably want ground-to-air missiles that can take down not sophisticated jets, but helicopters, for instance, or commercial aircraft like airliners, stuff like that. Airbus, 737, things like that. And general helicopters. Now, some of the helicopters have sophisticated countermeasures, the attack helicopters, and they're probably not going to be that easy to take down. Hezbollah uses anti-tank missiles against houses and other things, buildings, and Hamas does too. Not just tanks, vehicles, houses, buildings, and they're shoulder fired. and they are much more superior than RPGs. They might also bring in RPGs, they could bring in machine guns of all different flavors, they could bring in hand grenades, landmines, communications equipment, emergency food supplies, medical supplies, uniforms, although I doubt they would do that, they might, all kinds of things. And this has been going on for many years, like sleeper agents. So the cow has left the barn. If America shuts it down and says, oh, we're going to search, 50 or 60% of the containers, what would happen is they'd probably find a lot of these missiles, and then they would start searching probably 75, 80% of the containers, but that's not happening. These containers look like regular containers. They got bulletproof paperwork that it's furniture or it's, glasses and plates or, anything, So they've got weapons. And I told you they would start, the sleeper agents would take the military bases out. I told you months ago they would shoot rockets and missiles at them, and they could assemble these things inside America. Well, they still can, but they might get traced by buying the ingredients for the explosives. This is a much better solution. I didn't realize this was going on. So they can launch all kinds of missiles at the military bases first. Okay, that would create general chaos in the base and damage the base substantially, depending on what missiles, how many, and from where. Now, you could launch a cruise missile, not from, 100 yards or something like that, but I'm quite sure if you went 5 miles away, you would have a good launch. Or, maybe you need, 6 or 8 miles or something like that. I don't know, but I don't think you need 100 miles. You could be pretty close. Now, with a 550-mile-an-hour flight time, the base isn't going to have sufficient warning to deal with this. American bases aren't running around on missile alert. Most of them, I expect, don't have very many Patriot systems or any at all that are on standby that are going to be turned on with the radar, and they're going to pick up the incoming bogey, and then there's a crew operating the Patriot 24/7 that's going to lock in on it and fire an anti-missile missile and bring it down. Chances of this happening is rather non-existent in America, the bases in America. They usually are just protecting these bases with Department of Defense police or military police. So if you have a very large base where they have 200 or 300 aircraft, or it's a Navy base and they're right by the water with a pier and they got, 25 or 40 ships, you might have 100 guys running around protecting it because America's probably on high alert, and that's the maximum. I don't even think it's that high. They have a cluster of people at the gates watching who comes in and goes out, looking at what's being brought in and taken out, checking paperwork and documentation and so forth, right? So what are they going to do? 5, 6 guys at the gate, 8 guys. Then you have a handful of people patrolling the base with Jeeps, Humvees. They might have an M16, probably just a pistol. And then you got a handful of guys in command posts, and they might be monitoring cameras and things like this. The men and the women on the base are normally disarmed. They don't run around carrying assault weapons and pistols and stuff like that. They keep them, unless they're actually training with weapons, they're disarmed and the weapons are locked up. So, if you attacked at a certain day at the wrong time, you might find, as many as, 50 or 100 of these people at at the range, but it's not a significant number. Okay, and these guns are locked up in an arsenal, and when missile and rocket attacks come in, these people are going to be taking cover, and they're not going to be issuing, a cry to report to the arsenal and army cell. I doubt that. They're not going to put two and two together. So after an abundant amount of missiles hit a base, then the sleeper agents are going to come in with shoulder-fired weapons. So they see a military checkpoint, and they just fire 2 or 3 shoulder-fired missiles at the building and where they are, and that's the end of them. And then they just stroll in and start massacring the soldiers and raping the women soldiers and breaking into the arsenal if it's still standing and taking hostages and all the junk they do. And they might capture a lot of weapons. They might get tanks. They might get helicopters, planes. How hard is it to smuggle in pilots that know how to fly jets and helicopters? It's a piece of cake. Okay? But they may not even care about that. They may not bother with that. Okay? Maybe America has self-destructs under your aircraft, so if somebody steals it, they can blow it out of the sky. I don't know if they do or they don't. But they might be able to remote control, deactivate the aircraft, shut it down. I don't know what measures and countermeasures they have. I have no idea. Okay? Or they just go around with their simple AK-47s and shoot holes in the plane. That's the end of the plane. You can go to an F-22 and F-35 and spray a clip from an AK-47 of 40 rounds and punch all kinds of holes in the thing, and it ain't flying. No pilot's going to take it up after that. Who the heck knows what they hit? They shoot at the motor, they shoot at the fuselage, whatever, they can hit computer parts or whatever. Or they can use a missile, shoulder-fired missile, and blow it up. And it's probably not repairable after that. Okay, tanks, anti-tank missile would, just blow the treads off it. That's all they got to do. It's not hard. I told you this would happen. And, you've probably got, at the extremely low figure, 7 million illegals in the Biden administration years. 70% of that brings you about 5 million military-age sleeper agents. The high side is someplace around 12 and 14 or 15 million by now, and that gives you an astronomically large figure. So they're not going to go to take over a military base with 200 or 300 guys. They're going to try to assemble at least 1,000, 1,500, 2,500. And when you've got large numbers of that, like that, attacking people that are pretty much unarmed, it's over for the military. Okay? Now, when the Hamas came in on October 7th, they had what was called thermobaric hand grenades. They went to houses they couldn't break into, and the people were in the bomb shelter, and they couldn't break in. See, Israel houses by law for many, many, many years, going back probably to the 80s or even the 70s, have to have a bomb shelter. It's made out of thick, heavy, reinforced concrete with a heavy steel window that's solid. I mean, it's a thick piece of heavy steel. You're not going to shoot a bullet through it. I don't think a 50 caliber would go through it. But they don't carry 50 calibers. You're talking like a 65-pound rifle or something, They're not, or maybe a Barrett is 35 pounds. They're not carrying them. And the door is extremely heavy metal. It's very difficult to get through. So you could shoot AK-47s all day long at the bomb shelters, and nothing's going to happen. I have one. I have two in my house. And one's an old one. It goes back, I think it was built around 1948, and we have a more modern one too. And they couldn't get in, so they took thermobaric hand grenades and they just threw them in the house and they left. And it creates, I think, 3,000-degree heat. So they started a fire in the house and people were dying in the bomb shelters. I guess heat, smoke inhalation, no oxygen, combination thereof. I don't know how they could cause the concrete and steel to catch fire, but people were dying in the bomb shelters, and it was burning the houses. But they couldn't get in a house, they could get in the windows. And they'd throw a thermobaric bomb in the window. Most of the houses were not reinforced houses. The idea was run into your bomb shelter. The bomb shelter is doubling as a safe room, and it's a pretty good one, but it's not that hard to find. And they would try attacking them and then just burn the house down. So the only way you would really stop them from coming into a house would be to have a house made out of concrete block and or brick, have big heavy steel doors, have no skylights, and the windows would have to be made out of at least 28mm bulletproof glass. And then they would try to break the windows in, which usually wouldn't work. These windows usually mounted in steel or brick or concrete, and you probably go 1.5 inches or 2 inches inside the concrete, and you're not going to easily get them out. But if you take your AK-47 and you spray a clip at the window, 40 rounds, the window's going to break. Or if it doesn't on 40 rounds, you have some spectacular glass, you just take another clip and it'll break. It's going to break. So, protecting yourself from this type of an invasion is requiring a bunker. You're not going to be able to protect yourself with just a house. Now, for regular rioters and stuff like that, if you get a house and you do steel doors, or actually what you can do is call one of these companies up and have them hurricane-proof your house, where the house will sustain 140-mile-an-hour winds. So they put special garage doors on your garage, which are extremely difficult to break in, but not impossible, but very difficult because they're really tough. And they change your windows with hurricane-proof windows, which they take a 2x4 big piece and they shoot it out of some special air cannon and hit it at about 130, 140 miles an hour, and it won't break the window. So they're not going to easily get in your window, and you have to put doors in that are, heavy metal. And then if you've got sliding patio doors, you've got to put something outside that, like solid metal, like what stores use that drop down. And you can hold a crowd off reasonably well, unless they're seriously determined and they have tools and they decide they're going to break into your house with crowbars, and they have hammers, sledgehammers and whatnot, then they're probably going to get in, But generally they would just walk away. But, taking a house and hurricane-proofing it is going to cost many, many thousands of dollars. And it's not going to protect the house from fire. It's not designed to stop fire. So the thermobaric hand grenades they had would definitely burn the house down. They'd have to get the thermobaric thing inside the house somehow. That wouldn't be such an easy thing to do. But yeah, you would be able to sustain it. But how many survivalists know that the daughter of Babylon, America, is going to be destroyed by fires? Go, mommy, go. And they don't. They're all buying guns and survival food. All these sites they'll run around scaring you, and they start talking about nuclear bombs take off, this and that. Look, if the whole nuclear thing with the nuclear bombs was real, would Iran behave this way towards Israel? Because everyone in the world knows Israel has a large nuclear arsenal, if such things did exist, which I don't believe they do. But if they, would they behave this way? Would America behave this way towards China and Russia if they had ICBMs that could be launched from China and Russia into America with 100 megaton nuclear bombs and wipe out a place like New York or Miami in 20, 30 seconds? They would never behave this way. So you can go watch videos about nuke hoax and whatever, but you could also just use common sense. Would these nations really behave the way they do if it was true that all these nations had ICBMs with nuke capability? Of course they wouldn't. It's ridiculous. Do you think they're so civilized that that nuclear deterrence would work on them? You know, you're basically talking about Klingons, for those of you that watch Star Trek. These are like Klingons, you know. You're not going to get anywhere with them. You know, come on. Doesn't, you know, you could say Klingons, you could say Romulans, whatever you want to say. They're savages. Savages. What they did to us on October 7th, burned people alive, raped women so much, gang raped them that their pelvis bones broke, and they were raping them after they were deceased. They cut fetuses out of women alive. They took women and children, tied them together with wire, and burned them alive in their cars, not in their cars. Beheaded people, you know, and you think these people wouldn't use nukes if they had them? Are you serious? Now, so you have to, you know, be ready for this type of thing in America, okay? And the time clock is real short. It goes like, it should be pretty much over on them around August 1st. It would take 2, 3, 4 days maximum. I'm going to take a fast break, and I'm going to show you the scriptures for the fires in America. I'll be right back.
Did you hear about your eggs are cooked up?
I heard now.
Mommy's right here with you. She doesn't need to be out in the garden by herself.
Huh?
Just leave it here, not in the big house.
I will. have to listen to the birds singing. And if I can find the remote control. I can get this place warmer. It's too cold. Let's see how you do this. Yeah, this should do it. Yeah. I've used that remote in about a year. Okay. Let's see if we're on. Yep. All right. Let me take a quick look in the chat, see what's going on. This is actually not our house, it's attached, it's a guest house that we originally got this place to rent the guest house out for the for tourists, but of course now there's no tourists, you know. All right, let me go through the scriptures. If someone wants to disagree with me, that's fine, but it's a worthless statement without the scripture support. Just bear that in mind. It's just noise unless you got scriptures. In Jeremiah 50 and 51, it's the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, which is America, okay? And it says she's on many waters. We could do this just on this alone. You've got the Great Lakes, you've got 8,000 rivers, about that many regular lakes, and you've got the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Gulf of Mexico. And then if you want to add in Alaska, it's on water. If you want to add in Hawaii, it's surrounded by water. If you want to add in Puerto Rico, it's surrounded by water. And if you want to add in the U.S. Virgin Islands, it's surrounded by water. Now, the alternates that the church world propagates as the daughter of Babylon is Mecca and Medina, which is in Saudi Arabia as a desert. So right there, that's dead as a doornail. It can't be. And then we got the Vatican, and the Vatican's not on any water. They have a few bottles of holy water. They got toilets, water fountains. That's it. Spout fountains. There's no water. So you could stop right there, you know. All right, so out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. So the animals will be leaving too. That could be the cows, and it could be the dogs and the cats and the birds, I don't know. In those days, and it's going to be a total destruction. Now, you will probably be there for the beginning of it, but the invasion of it, you'll be out of there in the next great Exodus. If you're a true believer in Yeshua, or you're one of the 12 tribes of Israel, you'll be out. And you'll go to the wilderness, and then from the wilderness to Israel. Now, the true believers that see Yeshua in the clouds may not have to stop in the wilderness. I don't have all the tiny details of this, you know, but it'll come. In those days and at that time, saith Jehovah, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping. They shall go and seek Jehovah Elohim. Now this happens right after Zechariah 12, the next great Exodus. Okay, it's not the second Exodus. There was the Egypt Exodus, a Babylonian Exodus, the Balfour Declaration Exodus in 1917, and then in 1948 ongoing. So it's the next great Exodus. Okay, so they're going to be coming out of Israel. It says, they shall ask out of America, they shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, come and let us join ourselves to Jehovah in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. For a perpetual covenant, I would think you need everlasting life, don't you? My people hath been lost sheep, their shepherds have caused them to go astray. Those are your rabbis. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place, which is Israel. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against Jehovah, the habitation of justice, even Jehovah, the hope of their fathers. So let's read this again. All, now the word for all is call, which is the Hebrew pronunciation call. It means all. That found them have devoured them. The word for devoured is a kal, and it means eat, devour, burn up, feed, fed off them, which can be made of slaves, stole their wealth, and the general thing. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against Jehovah, the habitation of justice, even Jehovah, the hope of their fathers. Well, that's what the demons are telling them. Now, I'm going to jump over to Jeremiah 30 and read you a scripture and show you the payback these people are going to get. And the payback is going to come in the year of recompenses, because a recompense is a payback. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So now you see the basis for Jeremiah 30, and that happens during the birth pangs. It's going to be during the year of recompenses, which is now. It started on or around August 1st. Now, you can believe me or not on that. If you don't, I understand. And then we go, trying to pick up the reverse. Then we're in Jeremiah 50, verse 8. Remove out of the midst of Babel and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, which is America. Those are soothsayers. Now, when they used to have newspapers, every single newspaper in America published astrology. That's what the Chaldeans went on. I don't know if there's still newspapers in America. I haven't been there in a long time. And be as the he-goats before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babel an assembly of great nations, it's heathen nations, from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. Now, the north country probably references north of Israel, and that leaves a lot of options, not Russia, because Russia's over to the east. It doesn't really lend itself to Iran. It lends itself perfectly to Turkey. I mean, we're not sure what it actually is. It's not Canada attacking the United States. That's fairly absurd. So it says the north country, not from the north. So that doesn't necessarily mean they assemble in Canada. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. They shall set themselves in array. Let's look the word array up. It's a dock. Arrange, put in order. I believe what they do is they surround her. They shall set themselves in array against her, from thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man, an expert none shall return in vain. And Chaldea shall be a spoil, all that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Jehovah. It would appear to me that to spoil America is going to take more than a day. I'm thinking, you know. That would probably be the sleeper agents running around doing that. Because you were glad, because you rejoice, O you destroyers of my heritage, that's Israel. Because you are grown fat as the heifers at grass, and bellow as the bulls. Your mother, she shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness. Now, the hindermost is the last of the nations. Now, Jehovah only has 70 nations. The UN has a much higher figure. Because of the wrath of Jehovah you shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Every one that goeth by Babel shall be astonished, and hiss at all her plagues. Put yourselves in array against her. Put yourselves in array against her. Babel, against Babylon, round about. See, round about is encirclement. All you that bend the bow and shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against Jehovah. Now, the surrounding is reap what they sow from Zechariah 12, or it's God using the same approach. And in Zechariah 12:2 it says, Behold, I will make Yerushalayim a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. Got it? So the same thing happens to the daughter of Babylon. Okay? Not a coincidence in my mind. Shout against, verse 15, Jeremiah 50. Shout against her round about. Again, the surroundings. She hath given her hand. That would mean if Biden's still there, he surrenders. Her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down. The only walls they really have are the Mexico-American walls, which they have a few thousand miles of. So they probably get pushed over or burned or blown up or knocked over, whatever. For it is the vengeance of Jehovah, the vengeance upon her, as she hath done, do unto her. See, as she hath done, she gets surrounded. So she has a hand in this Zechariah 12, surrounding of Judah and Jerusalem. Got it? Cut off the sower from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of the harvest, for fear of the oppressing sword. They shall turn every one to his people, and they shall flee every one to his own land. So you have to watch for this carefully. The foreign workers, the agricultural workers in particular, going back to Mexico and the other countries they came from, because of the fear of war, civil war, or externally being attacked. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria hath devoured him. And last, this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, hath broke his bones. Now you gotta listen to this. This Nebuchadnezzar is referencing the daughter of Babylon, not the Babylon from the 70 AD days. This Nebuchadnezzar, okay, is different. The word for this is zay. It means this. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. That's the daughter of Babylon, had broken his bones. So Biden's been doing bad things to us, but it's been undercover. It's been veiled, starting with October 7th, and it's continuing. Now, what you might see happen with Iran Now, we don't know what Israel's going to do against Iran for the counterattack. I'm not sure Israel has finally decided on it. They say they have, but I'm not sure. And they could always change their mind. Rumors are saying that Biden is going to stick with Israel and let them invade Rafah without cutting off the weapons and so forth. If Israel restrains itself and just does a very limited attack on Iran. Now, that might mean not attack Iran in Iran, but I don't think Israel's going to tolerate that. So it might be hitting a nuclear facility, it might be hitting their oil, I don't know what. I really don't know why, okay? And whatever they think they're going to do today may not be what they do in 3 or 4 days. There's a rumor that they're going to wait until after the rabbinical incorrect date Passover is over, which is the end of April, to do it. Now, there's a few reasons for that. One is they don't want Israel at war during the Passover for the benefit of the people. Number two, it's consistent with a tit for tat because Iran was going through Ramadan and they waited until Ramadan was over before they attacked us. So they're pulling the same stunt on Iran, and the people in Iran are very tense and upset, and that wears them down. So they're on all kinds of high alert, and they're waiting for it. They cannot stop our F-35s. Forget it, they can't. And what we're going to attack, I don't know. Iran will counterattack, and they said with weapons they never used before. Forget nukes, forget hypersonic missiles, forget ICBM, forget all that stuff. What they might do is use chemical weapons. And I'll play this out for you. Biological weapons with anthrax and stuff like that are very, very difficult to make work. Okay? And I doubt they have. It's not easy to make a missile come and explode in the atmosphere and sprinkle anthrax or some other thing, some kind of powder all over the place that comes down and causes people to get sick. Okay? First problem is getting it to blow up and disperse in the atmosphere. That's no mean feat. I don't believe very many nations, if any, have the capability to do that. They may none of them have it, but they probably do. America probably does, and so forth. Okay. So then, what's the weather? How strong is the wind? Is the sun very strong? Is it raining? How long does it last? If the people are inside in bomb shelters and the stuff comes down, they just stay in the bomb shelter, probably another 15 minutes. In reality, probably 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours. And it would be dispersed by the wind and everything, and it wouldn't really be of much effect. The sun would deactivate it, the rain, anything, So that's not a realistic plan. Chemical weapons is another matter. Those things are much more stable than a biological weapon. Biological weapons cause disease, and it takes days for the disease to set in. You don't get them to just drop from anthrax, and then they got remedies, antibiotics and stuff like this. I doubt it's going to be anything like it. It could be a chemical weapon, which is very deadly, on context. Chlorine is the popular one. And in World War I, they used mustard gas, but they prefer chlorine today, although mustard gas is another option. I remember the 1990s, Israel gave everybody a gas mask. I remember going and picking it up. And the gas masks were for chemical weapon attacks, and they told us to take a room in our house and duct tape the windows and the doors and under the door to seal it off, and stay in there in your gas mask until you get the all clear in case they shoot, you know, chemical weapons at us. And that was, but they got away from that. So most of the Israelis don't have gas masks. If they do, they have them and they're decades old and they're probably no good. And that could be a very bad kind of an attack. Okay? Now, if they do something like that, I believe they'd be breaking international law, and Biden would be forced to rise up against them to protect Israel under terms like that. And then Israel would come back with a massive retaliation fairly immediately, I think, on Iran. And I mean, Israel would start blowing up their Navy ships, their ports, their piers, their oil refineries, natural gas refineries, their pipelines for oil and natural gas, and all kinds of things. They would be attacking Iran probably for 2-3 days and just devastating them. And Iran would probably attempt launching during these attacks. Israel doesn't have that many F-35s. Maybe the high figure is between 40 and 50. So they would use the F-35s to take out radar inside Iran, clearing corridors for the planes to travel without being picked up on radar. So the F-16s and the F-15s could come into Iran and also attack. And that would give us, you know, they would probably run 125, 140 or 50 planes, probably about 100, rotating them back and forth to get refueled and weapons. We'd have refueling tanker planes there. And then they would come back and pick up more gas in Israel, more fuel and new weapons, maybe change pilots and go out and do it again. And it would keep going for days. And Iran would be in such bad shape, they wouldn't know what hit them. We have Delilah missiles, which can be launched from aircraft or ground. And it's basically a modified cruise missile, so it could be launched from Israel. And it locks onto the radar signal and blows the radar up, it just homes in. And Iran has been good enough to keep their radar turned on in bulk quantities these last few days. So you may not even need to use a Delilah. We probably use the technology to pick up the GPS coordinates of the fixed radar and just launch missiles from aircraft at those GPS locations and blow the radar up. So one of the first things the F-35s will do is take out the radar, which opens the door for the other planes to come in. And it may require sinking some of their ships because Iran will have ships they'll try to shoot down aircraft with. Iran's jaw is going to drop in disbelief when this happens to them, and I probably will. Now, they may not use the chemical weapons because they may have enough brains to realize that Russia and China are going to have to shy away from them, and they're not going to like that. They triple allegiance, or it's Turkey, Iran, and Russia are in this trilogy relationship together for defense and wars and things like that. So it just shows you the stupidity of the countries of the world to have NATO and to have Turkey in NATO and also be affiliated with Iran and Russia, but they're not real smart people. So I don't have this confirmed that Turkey wants to work with Iran and come into Israel, but what Turkey has done for years is saying he wants to raise a 5 million man army to get Israel. And he wants to get the army from the Arab states, the 53 or 56 of them, and just come to Israel and surround it. And that sounds like Zechariah 12, but I have a feeling that Zechariah 12, it's my hunch, is not the Muslim terrorists surrounding Israel. There might not be that many of them left by this time. It's the UN nations, the NATO nations. These are the countries that are surrounding Israel to try to get Israel to cut it out, to just stop, shut down. So they're putting a blockade on Israel with a threat of invading it if they don't shut down. And that's what I think it is. I don't think, because Muslim terrorists don't have the self-control to surround a country like Israel and try to get it to shut down. They'll just run in and start doing atrocities. Klingons, Romulans. All right. So this Nebuchadnezzar is America, and you have to understand, broken his bones. That's bad things to Israel. And it's already begun, October 7th. It's getting worse. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, the God of Israel. He's not the God of the church, is he? Behold, I will punish the king of Babel and his land, as I have punished the king of Assyria. And I will bring Israel again to his habitation, and he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead. Biden was on TV, I think, yesterday and said he told Israel not to invade Haifa. Haifa's a big, beautiful city. Looks a lot like San Francisco in the north of Israel on the Mediterranean. It's a big city. It's beautiful. And he meant Rafah, but he's so delirious, he said Haifa. In those days and at that time, saith Jehovah, the iniquity of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none. So Zechariah 12 happened already. He poured his spirit on Israel. Okay, that's in verse 10 of Zechariah 12. And the sins of Judah, and they shall not be found, for I will pardon them whom I reserve. Now, whom I reserve means there's some of them that aren't going to make it, and we covered that yesterday, Ezekiel 34. Go up against the land of Merathaim, that's one of the Babylonian gods or something, or a city, one of those. It's a reference to the old Babylon. Even against it and against the inhabitants of Pekod, waste them utterly, destroy after them, saith Jehovah, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? That's not the Vatican, that's not Saudi Arabia and Mecca and Medina. It's America, it's not Russia, and it's not China. Who listens to China? North Korea, a couple other countries. Who listens to Russia? A few countries. Who listens to America? They all do. The hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken. How is Babylon become a desolation among the heathen? I have laid a snare for thee, thou art also taken, O Babel, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Jehovah. God has put a snare on America. And that's what the snare is basically Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China, and to a much lesser extent, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, the Iraq militias, Syrian militias backed by Iran, and Venezuela and Cuba are against America. They want to get rid of it. Look, China's economy is in the toilet, as is Russia's. Actually bounced back, but they had a lot of trouble. Iran's economy is not good. Neither is Lebanon's, of course. Gaza just gets fed for free, and so forth. So what they want to do is they want to get rid of America. No more sanctions, no more problems. They can go conquer the world after that. If America was gone, then they'd just take care of Israel at that point in time. That's what they're trying to do. It's not going to work for them. But I have laid a snare for thee. They're in a snare that Jehovah put on them, and it's a perfect snare. Jehovah hath opened his armory and brought forth the weapons of his indignation, of his anger. For this is the work of Adonai, Jehovah of armies, in the land of the Chaldeans. That's America. Come against her from the utmost border. Well, that would probably be Alaska or Hawaii, but you can't get into mainland America from Hawaii, so it's probably Canada. So Alaska, so they come in on the Bering Straits. Either it's water or frozen. It's 42 miles, which is nothing. You know, it's an hour and a half boat ride for the military boats. And they could feed easily. China, Russia, and North Korean troops can come in that way into Alaska. Then they just drop down into Canada and come in. Come against her from the utmost border, it's probably Alaska, and then Canada. Open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Slay all her bullocks. The bullocks are the bulls, and there probably means the police and the feds, not the military. Let them go down to the slaughter. It's not talking about the animals. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. God doesn't have a visitation on animals that I ever heard of, okay? The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babel, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Jehovah. That's the day of vengeance, I would guess, but it's going to have to take more than a day in the case of America, because they're going to loot and spoil and pillage and plunder her. The vengeance of his temple. So they might do something to the next temple, or it very likely is referencing back to the old Babylon, the attack around 70 AD, where they burned the temple down. And it's the same unclean spirits, and that's why God's calling it a vengeance. Call together the archers against Babel, and you that bend the bow. Camp against it round about. So that's an encirclement, like what they do to Israel in Zechariah 12. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work. That would make me think it happens in the year of recompenses, which, give or take 2, 3, 4 days, it would be August 1st, 2023 to August 1st, 2024. According to her work, according to all that she hath done unto her, for she hath been proud against Jehovah, against the Holy One of Israel. Well, you don't think that's America, I don't know how they like it. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith Jehovah. So this is a that day thing again, so it can be a one-day day of vengeance. The men of war cut off. I was explaining to you how they could hit the military bases, and they would do that in one day. Young men fall in the streets. They probably try to fight against the sleepers or the invading army, I don't know. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith Adonai Jehovah. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. So now we're back to a day of vengeance, aren't we? And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities. There it is. Kindle. The word for kindle is 3341. It means to kindle, set on fire. Kindle a fire, and the word for fire is ash, which means fire, in his cities, and the cities are a year. I don't know if it means cities. Wait a second. I guess it would mean places. It would mean places like cities would be a reasonable explanation. Places might be more literal. And it shall devour all round about him. Now, this is, if we're talking about a day, could it be that they launched thousands and thousands of rockets and missiles in America and start burning the cities up? It could be. It'd be a rather extravagant missile and rocket campaign, but it could be. It could also be like a Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord, where fire and brimstone are thrown down. It can be that too, but then it would kill the invaders and it wouldn't be able to spoil and loot. So like I say, we're not going to be able to always dot the I's and cross the T's on these things until they happen. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captive held them fast. They refused to let them go. So this could mean it's going to happen again, and the two witnesses will be coming around to help you get out, and they will. Or it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll happen again. It's just reflecting back in the past. But they are oppressed today, so it could likely be that they're going to refuse to let them go, like Egypt with Moses and Aaron. And the two witnesses and Moses and Aaron are sort of kind of like that. Two witnesses are greater. And they'll put the plagues on the enemies and get the people out of there pretty quick. It says that after this Exodus, that people are no longer going to be talking about Moses' great Exodus. This one's so much more glory. Their Redeemer is strong, year of redemption. There it is, you see. The day of vengeance is associated to the year of redemption and the year of recompenses. Is strong, Jehovah of armies is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land, that's Israel, and disquiet the inhabitants of Babel. Well, they're reasonably disquieted right now. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith Jehovah, and upon the inhabitants of Babel, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, that's all the governments, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. The word for dote means to be foolish, and they're certainly behaving foolishly with Biden there. A sword is upon their horses and upon their chariots and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her. Is America not considered the melting pot? Mingled people? It's America. That you think the Vatican is a melting pot? 300 people maybe live in the Vatican, and they're all Catholics. Saudi Arabia is not a melting pot, they're all Muslims. Come on. And all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, and they shall become as women. A sword is upon her treasury, and they shall be robbed. There it is. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up, for it is the land of graven images. And they are mad upon their idols. Therefore, the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt from generation to generation. As God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and the neighboring cities thereof, saith Jehovah, so shall no man abide there, neither shall Son of Man dwell therein. Now, that could be a clue that he's going to kindle fires is fire and brimstone, not missiles and rockets. So it could be that too, we don't know. Behold, it could be the two witnesses throwing fire down on the place because they're not letting the true believers in Yeshua and the Israelites leave. And that's pretty much similar to what Moses and Aaron did to Pharaoh. Behold, the people shall come from the north, and a great nation and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. They shall hold the bow and the lance, and they are cruel and will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like before the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, everyone put in array like a man to the battle. Like a man put in battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. The king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. Okay, so the king of Babylon would be this Nebuchadnezzar, and if things don't change, that's Biden. He's not in on it, he's freaked out. Okay, it's scaring the daylights out of him. He's trying to surrender and everything else. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan unto the habitation of the strong. Now that takes place in Israel. Swelling of the Jordan is roughly where the Jordan River meets the Sea of Galilee, which is about 5 miles from here, where I'm sitting. And the habitation of the strong means that Israel has probably already seen They've already looked upon the Son of Man in the clouds, the sign of the Son of Man, and they have eternal life. And the feeble become like David, who killed Goliath and a lion and a bear, and was a great warrior. And the house of David becomes like Michael, the angel of the Lord, who killed 150,000 in one day. And that would be the swelling of Jordan unto the habitation of the strong. But I will make them suddenly run away from her, so these American troops run away, they get scared suddenly. From her, and who is the chosen man that I may appoint over her, which is the two witnesses, for who is like me, and who will appoint me the time, and who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore, hear you the counsel of Jehovah that he hath taken against Babel, and his purposes that he hath proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. At the noise of the taking of Babel, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the heathen. There's going to be quite a taking of Babel. And I think the internet's probably still working, if it, or maybe it's going to make such a noise they hear it. I don't know. God could do such things. Now we're in Jeremiah 51. Thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will raise up against Babel and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind, and will send unto Babel fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Again, what happens in Zechariah 12. And it says, the day of trouble, day of vengeance. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up. Lifteth himself up in his brigadine, and spare you not her young men, destroy you utterly all her hosts. That's our army. The host is the army. Spare not the young men. The whole military of America is going to be dead. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. So that sounds like the military of sleeper agents running through the streets, just killing people. If you notice, they're acting up more and more in America, and in Europe too. They're shutting bridges down by doing protests for Palestine and things like this. It'll just keep getting worse and worse. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of Jehovah, of his Elohim Jehovah, I believe it's saying, of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. For out of the midst of Babel, flee out of the midst of Babel, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her lawlessness, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. And the word for time is et, which is time. Vengeance, he will render unto her a recompense. Your recompenses. Babel hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Well, they don't make any sense. Babel is suddenly fallen, it happens suddenly, and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Jehovah hath brought forth our righteousness. Now, how did that happen? Because they looked upon the sign of the Son of Man appearing in the clouds, seated on the right hand of power, coming like the lightning from the east to the west. So the true believers in America will see this. And they will be changed, like John 6:40, those that look upon him shall have everlasting life, if they're believers, which they are, so they have everlasting life. And that's, I believe, the righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Jehovah Elohim, or it could mean Israel, but they don't all get eternal life if they're not believers, I don't think. But maybe they, I don't know. He doesn't pour his spirit out on all of them around the world that I know of. Make bright the arrows, just in Israel. Make bright the arrows, gather the shield. Gather the shield. Jehovah hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, that would be the Median Empire, for his devices against Babel, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Jehovah, the vengeance of his temple. Could again be from the old days, 70 AD, destruction of the temple. It could also be something happens with the new temple, but I'm really quite sure it's referencing the old temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babel. Make the watch strong, because that would be the walls between Mexico and America. I don't know any other walls. Make the watch strong, set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes, for Jehovah hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. That would be the snare that he said he would put on the daughter of Babylon, which he did. O thou that dwellest upon many waters. Well, I told you, that's America dwelling on many waters. Not Mecca, not Medina, not the Vatican. Can't be. Abundant in treasures. That sounds like America. Thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. Well, they certainly are covetous. Jehovah of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. Well, fill thee with men sounds a lot like the sleeper agents. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heaven by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and He causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightning with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasury, out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image, a molten image is a cast statue. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors in the time of their visitation they shall perish. Well, God's given them visitation is very, very bad. The portion of Yaakov is not like them, for he is the former of all things. Remember, Yaakov, Jacob's. Great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Great is America's trouble, but she shall be destroyed in it. He is the former of all things, and Israel the rod of his inheritance. Jehovah of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the heathen. That's us, with the eternal life. In Zechariah 12:10, combined with John 6:40, so you understand it. And with thee will I destroy kingdoms, and with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young. And with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee I will break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. And I will render unto Babylon, to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, all their evil that they have done in Zion, in your sight, saith the Lord. That is telling us that the American troops are going to be doing evil in Israel in our sight. You got this? Get it. The Bible is never wrong. I'll read it again. And I will render unto Babel, that's America, and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, that's America, all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith Jehovah. So it's for our generation. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith Jehovah, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. That's the end of America. It's going to be a burned up mess. And they shall not take of a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith Jehovah. He is so mad at America, it never gets rebuilt. Set you up a standard in the land, blow that would be Israelites, or maybe America, wait, let's read. Blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her. It's not Israel. Call together against her the kingdoms of Arat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. These are the stand countries that end in the stand phrase that are allied with Russia. Appoint a captain against her. Now, somebody's going to lead this, maybe Erdogan or Iran or Putin or the guy from China, I don't know. Cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillar. It's not the Antichrist or the beast, forget that. Cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillar. Prepare against her the nations, the heathen nations, with the kings of the Medes, and the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of Jehovah shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their hiding places, their houses, their bunkers, their get-out locations, wherever. Be regular houses, apartments. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. Well, okay, now this is telling us it's the military and the police and these kind of people. They have forborne to fight. They're afraid to fight. They remained in their holds. Their might have failed. See, the law enforcement people are just cowards, not the military, law enforcement people. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. The houses are getting burned. Her bars are broken. They're burning the dwelling places. That's the houses. The survivalists get fed by the idiots that scare them with all these stories to get them to go to their website and buy more survival equipment. And they collect guns and food. It's not going to do them any good. They should buy fire extinguishers. They should build fire departments. It's not going to work. You can't work against the Lord. It's impossible. And they became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. Now, could that happen in a day? It says they have burned it. Let's check this out. As women, and I think they added words here. Yitzat, kindled, set on fire. As women kindled, no, it doesn't say they have burned her. It says burned, kindled, or burned her dwelling places. Kindled or burned dwelling places. Bars broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babel, this Nebuchadnezzar, which could be Biden unless he's replaced shortly. This city is, that his city, DC, is taken at one end. Now they're using foot messengers because the power is out from the fires, I guess, and the electricity and the comms and all that. The communications is comms. And that the passages are stopped, and the reeds have burned with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. That's the military. For, thus saith Jehovah of hosts, the God of Israel. See, he's not the God of the church. The daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Okay? Now that's separating the tares from the wheat. The tares are burned up. There's fires there. The wheat is gathered into his barn. His barn is Israel. You got it? A threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Separate the tares from the wheat. Matthew 13, tares in the wheat. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. That's the great Exodus. The harvest is the separation of the tares and the wheat, and the wheat's gathered into the barn. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicates. He hath cast me out. That was them looting and pillaging the temple, taking artifacts back to Babylon, burning the temple. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babel. It's the Israelites and all the true believers in Yeshua. Shall the inhabitants of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Therefore, thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will plead thy cause. And now the word for plead is more like to strive or contend. In other words, to fight for your cause, not really plead, to fight or strive for your cause. And take vengeance for thee, for Israel, and will dry up her sea and make her spring dry, and Babel shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, and astonishment and a hissing without, and without an inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions, they shall yell as lions' whelps. In their heat I will make their feasts, and will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep, a perpetual sleep, and not wake in their heat. It could be from the fires, it could be from their lust, but it's connecting heat to feast. I think it's their perverted lusts that get. And I will bring them down like lambs to the. Now this might be there's some sort of a holiday this happens on where they're out there celebrating with lust. I don't know. I don't really idea. I will bring that could be the 4th of July. What do I know? I don't know. Could be, it would be likely, but I don't know. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with the he-goats. How is Sheshach taken, and how is the praise of the whole earth surprised? Because it's a snare, and it's Jehovah's snare. How is Babel become an astonishment among the heathen? The sea has come up upon Babel, and is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. Her cities are a desolation. Wow. A dry land and a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwelleth. Neither doth any son of man pass thereof. So they're either going to go into captivity and exodus out of America. Of course, the true believers and the Israelites go to their real home, Israel. And I will punish Bel in Babel. That's one of the demon idols from the old Babylon. You see, they've got the same unclean spirits they're worshiping. They make their buildings look with the pillars like Greek and Roman temples. They're worshiping the same unclean spirits as Babylon did. And I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up, and the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. How do they flow together unto the daughter of Babylon? They go to the United Nations in New York City. Yea, the wall of Babel shall fall. That's the Mexico-American wall, and you could imagine what the Mexicans are going to be doing when they get into America. Looting, pillaging, plundering, raping, killing, burning. My people, go you out of the midst of her, and deliver you every man his soul from the fierce anger of Jehovah. So there's a time when you're definitely coming out. But it's optional. You don't have to go out. You could die there, or you can go out. But it'll happen, and you'll know it when it happens. And lest your heart faint, it's not right to come to Israel, because Israel's going through such turmoil right now. I think you'll have to wait till the turmoil here is over, I think. And lest your heart faint, and you fear For the rumor that shall be heard in the land, the rumor shall come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor. Now, you've had those in America. And violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Well, we haven't really seen the fullness of this, but Governor Abbott is definitely emerging as one of the rulers, it looks like to me, the Texas guy. Therefore, so you could have a civil war pop up. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babel, and her whole land shall be confounded, and her slain shall be in the midst of her. The heaven and the earth and all that are therein shall sing for Babel, for the spoiler shall come unto her. Spoiler, those are the people, the invaders, are going to be looting and plundering and pillaging America. Shall come unto her from the north, so they'll definitely either come in through Canada or Alaska, Canada, or from the countries north of Israel, saith the Lord. As Babel hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babel shall fall the slain of all the earth. There it is. Caused the slain of Israel to fall. They were involved on October 7th with the old Benji. You that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still. Remember Jehovah afar off, and let Yerushalayim come into your mind. Now, when they do the invasion, it says nobody lives through that. So I assume those of you that escaped or survived the sword would be the ruler fighting ruler's sword, maybe the sleeper agent's sword, not the invasion. That's how I see it. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our faces, for strangers are come into the sanctuaries of Jehovah's house. Now, is this a throwback from the past, 70 AD, or in the next temple? I think probably the past. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith Jehovah. The sound of a cry cometh from Babel, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans, because Jehovah hath spoiled Babel, and destroyed out of her the great voice, when her waves do roar like great waters. A noise of their voice is uttered. Because the spoiler is come upon her, even upon Babel, and her mighty men are taken. Even one of their boat. Taken can mean hostages. Captured or seized. And they may do the hostage game on her mighty men. The military and the police and stuff, maybe. Mighty men could also mean the politicians, the governors, the presidents, senators. They may get taken hostage. Every one of their bows is broken. For Jehovah, God of recompenses, the payback, year of recompenses, shall surely requite them and pay them back. And I will make drunk their princes and her wise men, her captains and her rulers and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, saith Melech king, whose name is Jehovah of armies. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, The broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken. It can mean the walls can be long and that kind of thing. This is the Mexico-America wall. I don't know of any other walls in America. And her high gates shall be burned with fire. And the people shall labor in vain. That means they're going to work and save money and build houses for nothing, and that's what's going on. And the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. Well, people in America are getting pretty weary now. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Sariah this. Okay, so I've done this with you guys many times, but I just keep, doing it so you, as we get closer and closer, you get, more and more focused on what you're going to expect, because it's a big thing. I'm going to take a fast break and I'll get into a discussion with you about what Iran might do and what America might do to Iran and cause this. America's under a delusion, it's in a snare. The nations are also in a snare, under a delusion, you might say. Not so much a snare of delusions. So Iran's going to do the wrong thing. The government of Israel is going to do the wrong thing. But it's the right thing, according to Jehovah. But to the, to the world, it'll be the wrong thing. Israel will retaliate. Iran said no matter what the retaliation is, they're going to come back at Israel harder. They're trying to create a scenario where they dictate to Israel under threat of huge missile attack. That's all it is. Israel knows if they do that, it's all over. So they're sweating Iran now, and then they're going to attack. And I don't know what they're going to do. It seems to me, if they don't attack Iran proper, in a meaningful, serious way, the people of Israel are going to think they've been gypped. Irrespective, Iran's going to counterattack next. And it may cause a lot of death and destruction in Israel. And it may not. And then America's going to get the bright idea that it could help them with popularity, Biden or something. And he's going to go after Iran. Which maybe is something he wants to go after all along. So he uses Israel as an offering. And when Israel gets hurt, then him and his coalition go after Iran. And Iran is going to wind up like Hamas. Yeah, you read about Persia, not Iran, Persia. Persian Empire was much bigger in the Gog and Magog. But that's 60-something years down the road, almost 70 years down the road. Plenty of time for rebuilding. So, we can't be headed into Gog and Magog. Okay, it says that we're living without fear at peace. You could stop right there in Ezekiel 38, where we're living in without fear and peace, without bars and walls here. We just got bomb shelters in everybody's house, right? With wealth and riches, gold and silver, and much cattle. It's not Israel now, it's Israel down the road, many years, okay? So forget the Gog and Magog preachers. It's absurd to say this is Gog and Magog coming up. As Jacob's trouble, great is Jacob's trouble, and he shall be saved out of it. That's your Zechariah 12. So, I don't know what day Israel is going to retaliate. And they say they know, but they could still be changing their mind. You know, Biden could influence them and stuff like that. So it looks likely to me that Biden will get into the fight against Iran. But he's also going to get mad at Israel. I don't know exactly how. We'll have to watch the pieces come together. The Lord will show me stuff as we go. And he might get it in his head to use the American military to force a two-state solution on Israel. And that's why he puts troops in Israel, but then they do evil to us. So we got to watch this. Israel and America may very well start fighting with each other. I don't know. It could happen, believe me. If they push Israel too hard, Israel will tell them to go fly a kite, get out of our country, and if they don't want to get out of their country, Israel will go after them. But it's all going to work out for us. Everything worketh for good to those that love the Lord. It's going to work out for us. Think. China's going to lay low. They're not going to do much of anything. Russia, I don't think much of anything. Maybe, but I'm not so sure. I think their master plan is let Iran engage America big time in the Middle East with the Houthis and Hezbollah and all of that, and then Russia goes to work on NATO and Europe and the EU and country by country, and they'll rise up against Russia and put them down, and that's going to be a Jeremiah 30:11 for that region. And China will attack Taiwan at this time, see it as a golden opportunity. And North Korea will hit South Korea, Japan and Taiwan will fight China, Australia will join in, and Guam and Philippines and the whole mess. How South America and Central America get into it, I'm not sure yet. Mexico will be pushing through the water, the wall to get in on the action and plunder and pillage. They'll probably hit the wealthy houses. They'll probably hit the stores, the malls, all kinds of distribution centers, and I don't know exactly what they'll hit. There's so many targets to hit in America to loot, you know. It's huge. It's huge. And they might take cars, they might take planes, boats. They're not going to take houses. They might take furniture. I don't know what they're going to do. Furniture right now. We'll have to watch it, but it's going to be bad, and it's going to happen real soon. Okay? So, you need to understand that God planned it, and it's going to happen, and you're going to be okay if you're a true believer. You got to get that down. And you can't worry about it, and you can't hang on to countries that are doomed to be destroyed. If you're going to do that, you're going against Jehovah's will. And you've got to go with his will, not your will. Okay? And that's the reality of it. You can't do it your way, because he has a better plan than you do. I'm checking the chat. Let's see if I have anything here. I take foreign language posts down. I don't block everybody, but I don't know what people are saying. When people come in here and you can't translate transliterations, and I don't know what they're doing. So it's likely Iran may up their game and use something like chemical warfare against us, which the United States pops their cork and goes after Iran. What that would look like is lots of warships and planes deploying to the Middle East, which leaves America more vulnerable. And that's what they want. That's what they want. Then the attention will shift off of Israel because they'll have their hands full fighting America. We'd make short work out of Hezbollah. Well, they'll eventually do the siege. There might be a period of time where Elijah works with the Levites in Malachi 3, where Iran gets decimated and things calm down for a while until they rise up with the Zechariah 12 thing, which would probably be the nations, not the Muslim terrorists. Because like I say, they don't have the self-control to lay siege. They just rush in and rape, plunder, pillage, kill, murder, burn, everything. So that could happen. So, you know, the two witnesses are going to start working openly very shortly. And we just gotta, you know, stay strong and get ready for it. And you guys in America are gonna, you know, have to leave. But God's going to destroy all the nations that he dispersed the Israelites into, and that's 125 nations. So you all pretty much are gonna have to leave. And you come to Israel. You stop in the wilderness and you come to Israel. What's so bad? You gotta, you know, it's a test. You're gonna have to do things Jehovah's way. If you don't want to do things Jehovah's way, it doesn't work. I didn't want to come back to Israel, I don't know, 10, 11 years ago, 9, 10, 11 years ago when I came back. I didn't want to come back. I lived here a few years. I knew what it was like. I didn't want to come back. My wife was all excited until she found out what it was like. And I got, you know, chastened for not coming back on time. I was dragging it out and lost a lot of money. But I got back here and he's taking care of me pretty good while I'm here, but I'm physically falling apart. But other than that, I'm okay. That'll change. And this place is not a great place to live right now, but that's going to change really well. And it's going to be a blessed place to live, the greatest place to live. You're going to have the Levites and the Kohanim running sacrifices, offerings in a temple that comes down from heaven real soon, weeks, a few months. I mean, you know, come on. What do you, you know how much fun that will be? Imagine everybody gathering together by the new Mount Zion, you know, for the Feast of Tabernacles, hanging out. It's a feast. Sharing food with your neighbors and talking, and the kids playing with each other. The kids trying to stay up all night because they're so excited, they don't want to go to sleep, and running around with each other. You know, come on, you know. It's going to be cool. The world hasn't seen this in, you know, 2,000 or so years. It's going to be one, but it's going to be much better than back then. Wealthy, you'll be rich and wealthy, have lands, servants, slaves, probably. You treat them well and they'll be happy to live here. So where the heck else are they going to live? And the food will be great. Maybe we'll stop eating Arab food and start eating American food. There'll be a lot of American people here. We can start eating American food. Yay! Hot dogs, knishes, brisket, T-bone, ribeye, porterhouse, New York strip. All the cuts you can hardly find in Israel, right? Yeah. It'd be nice, you know. There's a lot of good American food that I like. I also like the food from East Europe, the Ashkenazi food. That's real good. Kugel, Knedlach, cannonball soup, stuffed cabbage, many things. You got potato kugel, noodle kugel, blintzes, latkes, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, you just gotta, you know, see that this is just gonna happen and that's it. You know? Everybody wants to go to Israel, but not today, you know, not everybody, it's a lot of people. And he's gonna make it easy for you, there's gonna be nothing left to the nations to stay there, so you're gonna relish going to Israel, and you'll love it here. It's not gonna be Israel today. It's gonna be Israel with fantastic, broad, super wide fellowship with everybody, you know, and wealth, no poverty, and no rotten, stinking governments, and no wars for a long time. And, you know, it's going to be a lot of fun. Israel will be expanded, much larger. You go to the beach, go do this, go do that, you know, it'll be wonderful. It'll be great, you know. No churches, no Messianic congregations, no Buddhist and Hindu shrines and temples, no mosques and minarets, none of all that stuff will be gone. No communists, no atheists, no perversions, all be nice. Imagine that. No drug addicts, no gangs, no muggers, no robbers, no rapists, none of that. All gone. All gone. You know, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be wonderful. But it's only going to be wonderful for believers. But who the heck are you, right? If you're listening to me. So please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for us to be happy, healthy, and whole, and our animals and pets, which are rescues, to be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. Thank you for the few that send offerings in. And what else can I tell you? Pray I get the internet fixed for real today. The guy's coming later today. Pray that I get it fixed for real. This was a bogus fix yesterday. It worked for a half hour. So pray that that happens, please. I don't want to keep doing the videos here. I like working in my office. So, as they say in Yiddish, das ist alles. That's all. All right, I'm out.